Many of you probably recognized this ship, whether it was in a movie about Jack and Rose or you were one of many who were enthralled in 2023 when 5 millionaires were stuck at the bottom of the ocean for 5 days trying to witness this with their own eyes. Titanic is a widely known name. They say it's even as commonly known as the Bible. OceanGate, however, is a much less common name. However, in 2023, when a tragic incident took the lives of those 5 people, it definitely became more popular. What very few people know is in 2022, a very similar incident nearly occurred. And how do I know that? Because in 2022, when I was an expedition guide with OceanGate, I was there watching the screen, waiting for the ping to arrive to show that the submarine had been found and was within our reach. However, when that ping did not arrive, I was the one to call the wives of 4 of those people on board and let them know that we potentially lost their husbands somewhere in the ocean. This was probably one of the hardest moments of my life. After making the call, I retreated to my bunk and found myself just staring at a wall. Numb, heavy, and silent. This is not an ordinary job, and certainly not a job I ever expected myself to be in. As a young woman in science, I felt the weight of being a part of something that I thought was going to be as historic as the Titanic. Months before this incident, I considered quitting. I recognized the problems with it all, but my ego wanted me to keep going, to prove I could do it and to make history. But as I stared at this wall, I couldn't help but think, why would anyone put themselves through this? And just the same, why would I? To answer that, let's rewind. In 2019, I graduated with a master's degree in marine biology, specializing in coral microbiome genetics. Basically, just a fancy way of saying that I studied how a coral's internal ecosystem changed in response to its external environment, especially heat. Researching at the top school in the world for the program, and my research being funded and integrated as part of larger studies by the Australian government, I dove into the project with a full heart. Ever since I was little, I always wanted to save animals, to do something better, to help save the world. And I assumed that everyone who went into this also wanted the same, but the more I got involved in higher research, the more I saw something else. Within all of this, I saw more than anything competition. The race to the top, the challenge to be the first. It was the same egos that I was judging of the people who paid millions to go to the Titanic. And unfortunately, it was the same ego that I saw in myself. Now, let's dive a little deeper into the science, since I do have a degree in it after all. Corals operate with tiny microbes that live within it, and when its internal environment is healthy, pretty much anything happening externally, it can survive. But when it undergoes too much stress, like too much heat, the internal environment collapses. These little microbes that once actually helped the coral to survive start to fight against it and eventually leave it. The coral bleaches and eventually it dies. Funny enough, humans are incredibly similar, except our symbiosis is between our body and our mind. Similar patterns exist between corals and humans. In 2023 and 2024, corals around the world underwent a massive bleaching event, which led to 84% of corals experiencing stressed symptoms. Oddly enough, in 2023, a WHO study showed that globally, about 80% of humans experienced the same. And yet, stress recovery follows a similar pattern. When a major stress event hits, health rapidly declines, but with intervention, with tools, the internal environment can slowly restore itself. For me, staring at that wall, the tool was meditation. Meditation helped me to see something I'd lost, that bodhicitta, that compassion. A principle I had lived by so long, but completely forgotten about under pressure and with the ego. Here's another science lesson for you. First off, corals are animals. They're not rocks. And corals live in community. Actually, when you look closely, corals are colonies. They're little tiny organisms, all wall to wall, skin to skin, with the organisms that live within it. That giant coral colony shares nutrients with one another. And humans, we're built exactly the same way. We're meant to live in connection. We're meant to exchange emotional nutrients of compassion and softness and presence. We're meant to regulate one another's nervous systems, but we can't do that if our internal ecosystems are collapsing. That's where bodhicitta begins. In those quiet, uncomfortable moments of staring at your own wall, finding softness, seeing yourself and others, even the ones you judge, realizing that everyone is striving for something even bigger than themselves, even if their path looks different. Bodhicitta is innate within all of us. We just lose sight of it when our environment gets too hot. Meditation restored my ability to see myself in others, including the people I once judged. The explorers with the money, the scientists with the egos, the younger version of myself who thought she had to prove something. Meditation helps to bring our internal ecosystems back into harmony. So when the external world heats up, the inside can stay steady. Just like corals, we can exchange those nutrients with one another. That love, compassion, humanity. And maybe in time, we really can save the reef, but first we have to save ourselves.